the NHL looked to be pushing to have the NHL Entry Draft done in June, aka before playoffs.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is a very good thing, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just read everyone a little quick snippet from Elliot Friedman's 31 Thoughts, aka the Holy Bible of hockey content. Quote, Friday night, after teams received the NHL's position papers on the possibility of a June draft, there were several reactions. A couple were, quote, they're really trying to convince us, aren't they?
Yeah.
Some will change from the opinion of this is terrible and I don't support it. Now, one expert I really want to mention here is during a Fox Sports Detroit Facebook live chat on Thursday, Detroit GM Steve Yzerman voiced his opposition to the idea. Quote, my thought is, why would you do that? Why would you need to do that, Yzerman said. There's a lot of things that are affected, obviously. The draft position hasn't been established. We don't know who's in the playoffs, who's out the playoffs in some cases. But at this time, my own opinion is I haven't heard a good reason why we should do it prior to the end of the season. Yeah. If we do conclude the season over the course of the summer, end quote. And by the way, a key part of this proposition is the draft lottery. For Detroit, a.k.a. the team Yzerman runs, the worst-case scenario for them would be second overall instead of fourth. And he's not even for it.
Yeah.
And he's guaranteed Byfield or Lafreniere or Stutzel, wherever you want to take.
I think there's, and you know, looking at the document we were looking at for today's episode. Sorry, I feel like I'm going to be saying this a lot, in that there's two ways to look. Well, there's more than two ways, but I think if we want to narrow it down, there's two ways to look at why they want to do this. The first one, or why they shouldn't and why they should. Number one, why they should do it is it's obviously, it's more business wise. Is Adam here? Adam's not.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Sorry. Your video went
out.
My bad. Your video went out. I thought you left. Okay. The first reason, like, you know, it's really purely business. You look at what the NFL did. The NFL had their best draft ever. And they did it online. Why? There's nothing else happening. There's a UFC pay-per-view event next Sunday. They're probably going to do extremely well. Any sport event right now would, in most cases, do very well because there's nothing else to do. Literally, what else are you going to do on a Saturday night, a Sunday night, a Monday night, whatever day of the week? There's nothing else. The league that's been the most quiet, if you look at the big four leagues, the league that's been the most quiet has been the NHL. The NFL has had a draft. The NBA has pretty much like been leading the front on most things. The MLB, they just did whatever they did to the Boston Red Sox, and they're another one because they're supposed to be playing right now, who's been on the forefront of saying, hey, let's get games started. Whereas the NHL, you know, we've talked about before, usually follows whatever the NBA does in the most part. For them to branch off in this way and say, hey, we're going to have our draft these 2 days, this is how we're going to do it, makes sense from a business standpoint because they've been quiet. But if I'm looking at the opposite side, and I'm leaning more towards, hey, I don't really see how this works for the business within the NHL itself, not necessarily how it's attracting other people. I think it doesn't make sense to do a draft now simply because, because there's so many different things that you have to fix. Where you're saying, okay, if we wait another month or another 2 months, and hey, we're not gonna have and we're not gonna finish the season. Fine, wait. Apparently, we need another month to get ready for the draft, whether that be the lottery, set up, how are we going to run it, which is understandable. I can't imagine it's easy to run a draft online when you've never done it before. But right now, when you don't know what's happening, I read online that Romanov isn't necessarily. He doesn't know if he's signing a contract now or if he's signing a contract when the season's officially canceled, or whenever. There's a lot of things up in the air. So what happens? You're gonna draft. Let's say Detroit drafts Alexis Lafreniere. Is Alexis Lafreniere playing if they finish the regular season? My answer is no. My answer, he should not play. Right?
Well, there's also the question of what happens if the CHL continue in the Memorial Cup get there, because
they already canceled that. It's officially canceled.
Oh, okay, never mind.
The AHL hasn't officially canceled yet. It's what I've read. It seems like it's more likely that they're going to cancel their season too. But the CHL and the Memorial Cup, I'm pretty sure all gone, like for the rest of the season. Now, I think it's in 31 Thoughts too, or it was a couple days later, that here's what the leagues has suggested. So the first one is conditional trades, right? That's what a lot of people are saying. So the league would propose solutions. The team would have 7 days to either reform the deal on terms acceptable to both or accept the NHL's idea. And I can imagine that
is
what the NHL is going to say is, okay, your first round pick, roll it back to the next year or roll it forward. The second one, using each team's point percentage to determine the order selection. That's under the current playoff format. So 16 teams would be out of the lottery and 15 would be in. I don't see that as an issue. I think if the season ends up being canceled, I think that's something they look at doing either way. I don't see that being an issue. The last one, changing the lottery format this season only, picking just one winner and limiting any move up to a maximum of 4 spots.
Which is reasonable.
Yeah, let me agree. So I know Vancouver, I think it was Jim Benning or someone from Vancouver came out and said that, hey, we're fine with this because they would rather give up, I think it was the conditional pick to the Devils because they own the pick that was originally the JT Miller deal that Tampa then sent to New Jersey for, which the exact player I can't remember. But
Blake Coleman?
Blake Coleman, that was it. Thank you. Instead of a pick that they don't know what's going to happen with next year. It just seems like a bit of it's just, I don't like it. I think it's really silly. Especially, like, these are, some deals don't come together just like that. Now, if it's a quick, like, Matt Hendricks deal on deadline day, that's going to be nothing. But for the crazy conditions like a Vancouver JT Miller pick and that, I understand the circumstance, Daniel, but is it not a bit stupid that now the league are going to go out and just, give ultimatums to team for deals that they really have no business manipulating, I guess?
Yeah, it's like they're trying to restructure everything based on okay, how can you get this done? I'm not really too sure how it's gonna go. I know with the NHL Draft was a thing that happened and it happens in the playoffs. So the two things I thought about, I agreed with the NFL kind of showing that set precedence how to set up an online draft. I really kind of I liked how they did it, and people are sports deprived. They're gonna tune in regardless what it's gonna look like online. I think so. Second, what I kind of thought about the draft picks thing is if it comes before the playoffs, they could try to make something kind of like the MLB where the draft happens during the season, and they're gonna say unless they make a contract right away, the guy doesn't play. He gets sent down, or it just he's in the system, but he's not part of the current playoff team. Or it's same thing I'm gonna take for the MLB too. Is you have your set playoff teams already, 40 guys, for example, the MLB when the rosters expand, and then from that everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of things that I kind of just thought about. Where I guess we've talked about this before, but we didn't know how long this was going to drag on. But seeing that this is a long-term thing, these are some things worth considering. But like going back to that last point with the conditional picks, yeah, I kind of agree. Like if you kind of push it another year, you can see where that goes. But like, it's just interesting. Like I keep thinking of the San Jose pick, or like I'm thinking of that. I know that's like already kind of locked in.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's these kind of things where it's like dependent on if a team makes the playoffs or not. It's like, or like the best or the worst of the pick. I know like Carolina gave that away. Like one is like their pick or Toronto's pick,
Right.
to New York for
Brady Shea.
It's like
Brady
they
Shea.
choose which one it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's the one that is, I believe it's the higher one.
Yeah.
So you talked about the San Jose pick. So this is from Ian Mendez. He tweeted this out, I think yesterday or a couple days ago. So a June draft using the old system would be the ideal situation for the Ottawa Senators. The Sens could only end up with these 4 top of draft scenarios. Number 1 and number 3, number 2 and number 3, number 2 and number 4, number 3 and number 4.
So
That's good for
San Jose kind of shot themselves in the foot with that one.
Hey, I don't think anyone expected them to be this bad, especially this quickly. We knew it was going to happen, but
Josh Norris is the one who surprised me of that trade too. Like I didn't think he developed like this.
Great name.
For me, when I remember seeing that trade, and the first kind of thing I heard about Josh Norris was that he was buddies with Brady Tkachuk, and I'm like, man, you did not make that deal because of that. That's no way you made that deal. Now I think he's proven himself. I think could be an NHL. Like obviously he's going to be an NHL player. A matter of when.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got some look at the NHL this year in games. I think his first one was against the Habs, and hey, you noticed him, right? So
Yes.